Welcome to another reading from the Science of Mind Daily Guides. As most of you know, we're getting a different person each day doing the readings, or doing the writing, and I am, of course, doing the reading. Today is a good lesson for all of us, really. You'll see why in a second. It's a pretty simple lesson. The writer today, I'm going to do that first actually. She's called Reverend Sally Robbins, and this is from the April 2020 edition of the Science of Mind magazine. Reverend Sally Robbins, it says here, she's been a minister since 1998. That's long before I knew about Science of Mind, and was the senior minister of 3 churches in Maryland and Arizona. She served at the national level of Centers for Spiritual Living in a variety of roles, including 3 times as the co-chair of the Event Planning Committee. And she studied New Thought principles for more than 50 years, which is probably more than some have been alive here. Robbins currently lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and is finishing a book to be published this year, or actually in 2020. And she can be reached at Rev, R-E-V-I-N-T-O, go, &, or in other words, rev2go@gmail.com. So there we are. And this is what she had to say about her readings then. She quotes first from Abraham Maslow. Says, in any given moment, we have 2 options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. What one can be, one must be. And that was Maslow. And here we go. I'm not going to read any more from that. First quote is from a great mystical character, Indian from the 20th century, called Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti. He says, and my wife was quizzing me about this yesterday. She read it last night, and then she was quizzing me about it later. To know is to be ignorant. To not know is the beginning of wisdom. What does it mean? Well, listen to what comes afterwards. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind on page 44 says, should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, we should yet receive only that which we are ready to understand, which kind of makes sense. In other words, we have to be open to what is being offered to us, and we have to be in a position to be able to understand it. So we have to be open, ready, and willing to understand it. Another New Thought person from the 20th century, John Randolph Price, relates in, quote, spiritual philosophy of the New World, unquote, how a woman at one of his retreats asked him for advice about a challenge she faced. When he told her his answer, she replied, oh, I already knew that. Randolph Price writes, the truth is, if she already knew that, the challenge wouldn't have entered her life in the first place. He added, quote, maybe it's time to bring some humility into our lives and admit that we do not have all the answers. And maybe it's time to start practicing the truth we so eagerly share with others so that we can be the teachers of wisdom we were sent in to be. That's John Randolph Price. And this is back to Reverend Sally Robbins. I vividly remember a time in my 20s when I thought I knew it all. Oh, the stupidity of youth. I had yet to learn that I barely scratched the surface of the knowledge that life has to offer. Today, decades later, I continue to marvel at how much I continue to learn. One of the hallmarks of spiritual maturity is the willingness to be a lifelong learner. The Buddhists call this Shoshin, which means beginner's mind. Whether we're learning a new language or we've been studying spiritual concepts for years, we keep our minds open and free of preconceived ideas. Shunryu Suzuki wrote, and I love this quote and I use it a lot, In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. As I said, that was Reverend Sally Robbins, April 2020, Guides from Science of Mind magazine. I really love that quote because it reminds me that all of us are on a lifelong journey of learning. And I have lost my camera here. I got it back. Here we go. You know, I've mentioned a bunch of times, one reason I love teaching classes is this. And I don't care whether it's for Centers for Spiritual Living, Creative Life Spiritual Center, online, in person, world religions, which I teach at a local community college, whatever it is. One reason I love teaching is because I know that in every single class, if I keep my mind open, I'm going to learn something. And it may be from the material, or it may be most likely from the students in the class, or if I've got a co-teacher or a TA, from them. But I know if I keep my mind open, as Shunryu Suzuki is suggesting, I'm going to learn something. And in almost all of my world religions classes, I've learned something new. I learned something new about Judaism. I learned something new about Christianity even, where I thought I knew most of it. I learned something new about Sikhism. In other words, I've learned something new in each of those classes. Right now, I'm helping teach a class. Well, I guess I'm the kind of, the guide is a better example in this. It's the art, spiritual, it's the art of, really what it is, it's the art of spiritual mind treatment. The art and science of spiritual mind treatment is the actual title. The thing about this class is that there isn't one person in the class who is new to the concept. And when I went around the room, it's a Zoom, okay? So I went around the Zoom room, quote unquote, and asked people why they joined. Most of them were telling me that it was because this was a newly revamped class and they wanted to see what the new material was. Some of them have been in Science of Mind a lot longer than I have, some a lot shorter. But the really great thing about it, I found, was that all of them, however practiced they were, and some of them are practitioners, not all practitioners in there, but some of them are practitioners already, they wanted to learn something new. They were open, ready, and willing to learn something new. And that's why they came to the class. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that's a great example for all of us. And I do believe, I really believe, that when you go into anything in life with an openness to learn and not be the expert, quote unquote, that your life is going to improve in some way, shape, or form. And other people's lives will also improve. I think it's a simple lesson. It's not an easy lesson because a lot of times our ego gets in the way. Oh, I knew that already. And believe me, I've done that. I've done that a lot. And nowadays, I try to not do that because when you say that, you shut your mouth. How do you think Randall Price felt about relating to this woman when she said, oh, I already knew that? It probably turned him off telling her anything new because she might have come around and said, oh, I already knew that. But the bottom line is, it teaches us humility, that's for sure, but it also allows us to grow as human beings, as spiritual beings. And I think that's kind of cool. So whatever your religion is, as I said before, or no religion maybe, whether you're spiritual or you're not spiritual, if you just open yourself to new concepts, it's good. Right now is a perfect example. There's so much argument back and forth on the political scene. Some of it's true, some of it's not, some of it's misinformation, some of it's real information. But if you shut yourself off from listening to what the other side has to say, then number one, you won't grow as an individual. But number two, you may absolutely miss something that you need to incorporate into your own philosophy or your own agenda if you're one of the people competing there. So be open. Holmes said about our whole philosophy, be open at the top, allow new ideas to come in, and don't say, this is it, that's the end of the story. So many religions have said, that's it, that's the end of it. There won't be any more divine revelations, they've all gone, that's it, we're shutting it down. You don't grow as an individual, you don't grow as a religion, you don't grow as spiritual beings, and you don't grow as a human race if you do that. But the opposite's true, you do grow in all those ways if you're open and ready to learn. That's really all I've got to say. Let me see, what's the affirmation is, guess. You could almost guess the affirmation. I practice the concept of beginner's mind, opening my mind to new revelations. I practice the concept of beginner's mind, opening my mind to new revelations. That is a wonderful affirmation. And with that wonderful affirmation, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to remind you that Reverend Lisa will be on tomorrow morning about 9 a.m. Central Time. Our service will begin at 11 o'clock Central Time. If you miss any of them, you can always go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page and you can catch them there. The Facebook page is going to have the whole service. The YouTube page, because they copyright on songs and everything, will just have the basic message from Reverend Jesse, which in itself is worth tuning in because there's always some gem of wisdom. He may get pretty erudite at times, he may get pretty academic at times, but you can guarantee he will put humor in there and there'll always be something to learn. So until tomorrow, take care. Take care of yourselves first, then take care of others, and enjoy the rest of your day, whatever that is. Namaste.